You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the October 9th meeting of the Michigan City Board of Cemetery Trustees. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Agenda starting with the Cemetery Board of Trustees dated Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. We're doing a call to order from my team.
Davis Bush.
Present.
Bernadette Demke. Present. Renee Bauer.
Present.
Stephen Janis.
Present.
Vera Gaston.
Present.
Pastor Dennis Carroll.
Present.
And Kat Houchins.
Present.
We have quorum. We'll proceed. Approval of minutes. Everyone has a copy of those? Are there any questions or concerns? If not, we'll need a motion to approve.
I'm Kat Houchins. Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Excellent.
Renee.
We will vote on this. All in favor of approval of minutes?
Aye.
Excellent. Any opposed? Excellent. We'll move right on to the financial report from the good gentleman from Horizon.
Very good. We will start at the top of the summary page with the permanent maintenance Greenwood account. The account is up 0.28% for the month and 2.46% year to date. The next account is the permanent maintenance Swan Lake account. The account is up 0.31% for the month and 2.72% year to date. In the extension fund, the account is up 0.31% for the month and up 2.59% year to date. With respect to the merchandise and commissions fund account, the account was up 0.40% for the month and up 3.20% year to date. Going out to page 2, we will examine the permanent maintenance Greenwood account. The money market is currently yielding 4.83%, which is down from last month's yield of 5.18%. Mutual funds overall yield is 3.28%, which is down from last month's yield of 3.36%. The overall yield in the account is at 3.80%, which is down from last month's yield of 3.93%. Turning to page 3, the permanent maintenance Swan Lake account. Mutual funds overall yield is at 3.35%, which is down from last month's yield of 3.42%. The overall yield in the account is at 4.13%, which is down from last month's yield of 4.26%. Turning our attention now to page 4 of the extension fund. Mutual funds overall yield is at 3.39%, which is down from last month's yield of 3.48%. And the overall yield in the account is at 3.84%, which is down from last month's yield of 3.94%. And finally, with respect to the merchandise fund found on page 5, mutual funds overall yield is at 3.38%, which is down from last month's yield of 3.49%, and the overall yield in the account is at 4.47%, which is down from last month's yield of 4.77%. And for remarks with respect to the overall market performance, I'll turn things over to Brett.
Thank you. So as Aaron mentioned in the report, money market yield is at 4.83. That's really down from the peak of about 5.25% we saw a couple months ago. So we're starting to really see the effects of the Fed interest rate cut we saw in September, 50 basis points. As far as CDs and treasuries, we're still seeing rates over 4%, even out to 2 years. So it's still attractive interest rates, guaranteed interest CDs and treasuries. And then even we're seeing high 3% rates beyond 2 years too. So it's still attractive fixed income market, especially when compared to what we saw a few years ago when we had near zero interest rates. As far as recent economic data, we had some employment numbers that came in last week and showed some small cracks in the labor market. Temporary health payrolls, manufacturing payrolls contracting a bit, but the non-farm payroll number, which is much watched number as far as employment data, was at up 254,000 month over month versus a forecast of 150,000. So that was a really big surprise to the upside. That report has seen some revisions this year to the downside, but this time there was an upward revision of plus 72,000 in prior numbers. So it looks like right now we're seeing a pretty healthy job market. Weekly jobless claims were also pretty low at 225,000, and the unemployment rate fell slightly to 4.1% in September. So none of the recent jobs data looks recessionary, so nothing really to be alarmed about as far as that's concerned. It's our opinion the Fed should still be cutting rates, but the latest employment numbers gave them some breathing room that they probably most likely won't have to cut another 50 basis points immediately at the next meeting. Most likely this year 25 basis points. So really no urgency to cut interest rates dramatically. Inflation numbers look pretty tame, and it really looks like the focus of the Fed right now is the unemployment or employment area versus inflation that they had been really concentrating on the past couple of years here. So, bottom line, the soft landing that we've been talking about for the economy is definitely still very much in play. The economic environment right now is looking more like a mid-cycle adjustment rather than a start recession, as far as we see. So we really forecast a recession anytime soon. And we really think the Fed's going to continue to cut rates, but at a more moderate pace. And that's where we're at right now.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for the people from Horizon? Okay, we'll make a motion to accept the financial report as presented.
Also moved.
Second.
Excellent. Any votes? Here we go. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll move on to a little joy called bills, which is payment register, and everybody should have a copy of that in front of them. And if there's any questions or comments, we'll give you a moment to review it. A substantial amount of money this month. If we have any questions or comments, please speak up.
The Horizon Trust and Investment, is that for the maintenance on our accounts, or what was that?
No, that's money.
Did-
That's
Did you just
money
have-
that we put in. That's
Okay,
receipt,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't notice, if that's every month we do that?
Yes.
Okay, I
Uh-huh.
didn't notice that.
Okay, if there's no more further questions or comments, we'll ask for a motion to accept the cemetery payment register as presented.
I'll make the motion to accept the payment register as presented.
I can't motion second that.
Excellent. We'll vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our most wonderful superintendent's report.
Right, starting with the burial report for the last month. Again, they're about in line with the last 9 months. Greenwood, we had 8 ash 7 full burials, 2 entombments for a total of 17. In Swan Lake, we had 5 ash, 3 full, no entombments for a total of 8, for a grand total of 25 burials for the month. And these are the graphs just kind of to show you how we compare to the previous 9 months or previous 8 months. So, again, it's pretty consistent. Next item I had, discussion of new rules for contractors on cemetery property. Obviously, a few months ago, we decided to no longer sell the bronze markers. So what's happened is this is to be taken on, the extra work's been taken up on by the monument companies, and then some funeral homes are now in the business of selling headstones and monuments. So we found out that the cemetery has never had a policy or any requirements insurance-wise as far as doing work on cemetery property. So I worked with the city attorney, Amber LePage Stahlbrink, and she came up, and I passed this out, she came up with this agreement that I'd like everybody to review. And if you have any additions or corrections, let me know. But it's my opinion, I think we need to pass this. And what this is, it's an agreement that every monument company or funeral home that sells monuments and installs them on cemetery property will have to sign. Part of the agreement is that they'll hold the city of Michigan City harmless if any injuries, damage occur. But it also requires certain monetary limits that are set by Indiana statute. Specifically, general aggregate would be $2 million in insurance, liability insurance, and then it goes on and on to list, accidents, workers' compensation. So we thought this was necessary again because we're going to have, and I'll just give you an example. This morning we had an unmarked pickup pull up in the cemetery this morning, pulling a trailer with some headstones on it.
Mhm.
And they were looking for the plot where they were supposed to put these, and I asked them which funeral home or which monument company they were working for, and they said they didn't know. They were an independent monument company that goes around and installs them. They didn't know who they were installing for. So we did some research in our burial records and found out which funeral home had called them out here to get in. Something like that, we want a policy where they have to come in to the office first, whether it's here at Swan Lake or Greenwood, and actually check in so that we know they're on the property and why they're on the property, and then they're going to have to provide proof of insurance. All of our local monument companies and local funeral homes will have to sign this at the beginning of the year and provide their insurance at the beginning of the year. It'll be good for the entire year, so they won't have to provide it every time they come on scene. They'll have to stop in the office whenever they come out here, but this is a one-time thing every year that they'll have to provide.
So they wouldn't have known they had to stop at the office?
No.
Would a sign at the front be helpful?
No, that's up to the funeral home. It was the funeral home that they bought it from,
Mm-hmm.
or that they paid for it, and then Allen Monument was the company that came out here, and they should have come into the office.
Okay.
So the funeral homes need to let them know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to take these home and review them and approve them at the next meeting, or if we want to approve it now, it doesn't really.
Is this standard for cemetery
Yes.
insurance? I mean, I'm sure the attorney.
When we
got
first
it.
started working on this, myself and the city attorney,
I mean, the amounts, is that?
yeah, it's all, the amounts, I believe, are set by, most of them are set by Indiana statute as far as liability insurance. And this is kind of standard with other city departments too, that they require something like this when you come on city property and do any work. But we also checked with other cemeteries. I think we checked with one in Evansville, possibly, that we got a sample from. But yeah, we did some research, and that's how the city attorney came up with this.
And up till now, there was nothing?
No.
Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we wanna vote on this, which we would need a motion to accept the agreement for contractors with, as presented by and provided by our attorney Stahlberg.
So moved.
Excellent,
I'll second that.
excellent.
Cat Hutchins.
We'll vote on this item, and we're gonna need, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. This motion is carried and this will go forward. Thank you.
The next item on my agenda here was the issue about our pond out here at Swan Lake. We've been receiving complaints. We had somebody come in the office, and then on social media, people have been complaining about the condition of the pond out here. I did some research, and I'm confident that it's nothing that's going to be detrimental to the health of the swans or the geese out there, for that matter. I believe it's called water meal. I tried raking it off the pond. You can't rake it off the pond because it's actually like just a green seed. So when you try raking it, it just disperses. So I brought a fire hose out here. We tried shooting it off with the fire hose. That doesn't work. Obviously, with our pump running, we run that constantly while we're here. So 8 hours a day, that pump runs, and it does open up an area big enough for the swans to swim in, but it's still not sufficient enough. So my other option was I shopped around here and I found a company that specializes in treating ponds for this exact type of thing. So to expedite things, we already had the company come out. It was $650 for 2 treatments that are going to be done in the fall. One was already done last week, and then later on in the fall here they'll do another treatment. I noticed that it's already starting to work out there. The water meal is still on there, but very thin now, so you can actually see the water again. So we're hoping that clears it up. The company that I spoke with that did this for us said that we may have to do it again in the spring, a couple of treatments, but we're hoping that this rectifies the situation again. Again, it's nothing that was serious as far as health-wise for the swans, but just to alleviate the public's concerns. Hopefully we've taken care of it now.
Does this happen every year?
It's the first time in 40 years for me.
Because of it?
We've never, ever had that on the
I
pond.
think maybe the warm,
We believe it was the combination of the heat and dry weather
Right.
that brought it down.
That's what was causing it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Strange.
So we're trying to find the funds. Our funds are becoming limited in our budget just because of all the stuff we fixed this year. So we're trying to find the funds in that. If not, we may come back and ask the board for a transfer of funds of $650 out of the extension fund to pay that bill when we get it. So the third item on here is departmental vehicle damage. A couple weeks ago, one of our employees over at Greenwood, he was driving one of the cemetery-owned pickups and struck a concrete barrier and did, I haven't got the estimate, but it looks like maybe $1,000 to $1,500 damage at least, I'm thinking. So I contacted our insurance company to report it because we filed a police report as the city ordinance requires and reported it to the proper city officials, but I also contacted our insurance company to report it, hoping that maybe we could file a claim. When I did so, I learned that we don't have full coverage on all of our vehicles. The only vehicle that is fully covered is the one I drive on a daily basis. So all the rest of them only have liability insurance. So if we go out and hit somebody else, it'll pay for their damage, but not ours. We've been working, earlier this year we had discussions because we're about the only city department left that is independently insured. All the rest of the city departments go under kind of an umbrella with the whole city. So we're hoping next year that when our policy renews, we're going to be included in the city insurance policy. I can tell you, just because of all the claims the city has had, their deductible is extremely high, a lot higher than ours. But if we're not going to be fully insured, it really doesn't matter. So unless we want to spend the extra money to try to get our vehicles fully insured next year, I think our only option is to go under the umbrella with the rest of the city and deal with their high deductibles. So, but again, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to the renewal next year. So it was an older vehicle, so I don't think it's worth it to repair the damage. It's still drivable. It's just cosmetic. But I really think we need to explore some type of better coverage because we have newer vehicles. If this would have been our 2017 dump truck, I'd be here asking the board to pay for the damage out of the extension fund. But for this vehicle, I don't think it's worth it. So. Next item is our green burial master plan update. A couple weeks ago, Roxanne and myself attended the Indiana Cemetery Convention. And it was held at Notre Dame University in South Bend. It was very informative. We attended, they had a number of speakers that spoke at this event. One of them specifically spoke about green burials. I think it was in Fort Wayne, wasn't it? It was a cemetery in Fort Wayne, and he spoke highly of it. Again, we haven't, and I know the board hasn't made a decision yet, but I just want to let the public know and those concerned know that we are continuing to work on this, and we plan on scheduling another meeting before our next board meeting. So, next item would be the office painting and floor update. So, most of you, if you're welcome after the meeting here to take a tour of our building here. It's pretty much complete. The painting's done, the flooring's done. I have a few pictures here. The picture on the left obviously is the before picture, and the right is the after picture. It's obviously with the new LED lighting, the flooring, the painting. It just smells a lot better.
Very nice.
Looks a lot better,
Yeah,
a lot
looks
brighter. It's a lot more pleasant place to work. So I appreciate the board spending the funds to fix that up for us.
It
So,
needed it.
No longer smells like grandma's old house?
no. Or worse, so. Next item would be our electrical upgrades. Our electrical upgrades are complete. We have one more item that will probably be coming back to the board to ask for some funds for, and that would be to install the outlet for our pond fountain. And I'll bring that up later here in the meeting. But other than that, everything's done. All the underground connections have been made. All of our new fuel pumps have been hooked up, so we're happy about that. The Serenity Mausoleum HVAC update. They were out here, was it earlier this week or last week, I believe. But I'm happy to report that the new units have been set on the building. They brought a big crane out to set those. Everything's been installed. They painted the connection lines so that they kind of blend into the building so they're not so obvious. The only thing we're waiting for now is the gas company to come out here and make the final hookup to the system so they can be tested and turned on. So the good thing about this is once it's turned on, the weather's getting cold now, so instead of making everybody use our older mausoleum for services, we'll be able to let them use the newer chapel for those. Next item would be the I just want to give you an update on the 2025 budget. I think it goes for a final reading here in another week or two, but it looks like it's all going to pass. The substantial changes to our budget was an addition of $25,000 for a limited number of Saturday burials. Again, like I explained at the last meeting, we plan on doing Saturday burials twice a month. And before the end of the year, we'll come up with some rules and regulations to pass out to the funeral homes just to explain how this is going to work. It'll be on a first come, first served basis. So, the other item, they gave us a new line item in our budget for aggregates, again, so we can use sand to backfill our graves. And then the other change in
Was repairs and equipment?
yeah, repairs and
Line
equipment.
items.
The funds that we use to make repairs and maintenance to all of our buildings, we have 6 buildings, I believe, so we ask for more money to take care of those repairs because it's not just the large repairs that when we come ask for large amounts of money to repair these, there's cost on a daily basis, just minor repairs that have to be made that I don't come to the board to ask for money for. It'd be nice to have more money in that budget. And it's a matter of just buying more cleaning supplies that we don't have, or cleaning tools, just that type of thing. So, and the final difference in the 2025 budget would be, and this was kind of tentative, I'd asked for a new zero-turn mower. We have 4 zero-turn mowers between the 2 cemeteries. Actually, we have more than that, but the other ones are inoperative at this time. What I'd like to do is trade in some of our older mowers that we're not using because it doesn't make sense to have all these mowers sitting around that don't work. The option was to put a bunch of money into them and fix them, or just trade them in for one newer unit. So I'd like to fix up. We have we have 5 mowers that don't run at this time or not in full running condition. So what I'd like to do is fix up one of those, trade the other ones in, and then if we order a new one, we'll be able to move one of our good mowers to kind of a fill-in status so that if anything breaks on one of our other ones, the plan is to have one backup mower at each cemetery. So we would end up with a total of 6 mowers. So, but again, that would be, I'd like to get on a replacement program to buy a new zero-turn mower every year rather than having to come to the board or go to the city council and ask for a bunch of money to buy 4 new ones, every 4 years. It makes more sense just to replace them, have a replacement program for them. So again, that wasn't necessarily approved. The plan is that if we have to buy that, because the city's not in a financial situation to provide any capital improvements for us this next year. So the plan is we've kind of set aside $100,000 of extension fund. And again, that would have to be approved by this board first before we transfer that money or spend it. So nothing's taken place yet, but that's kind of been kind of set aside in our budget so that if we do come to this board and ask for $20,000 to buy a new zero-turn mower next year, that it's already been approved by the city council. It would just be up to this board to approve the final payment, to actually approve the purchase of one. So if this board decides mid-year next year when I come and ask for a new zero-turn mower that we don't have the funds or we don't want to spend the extension money on it, that's your option. It's completely acceptable. But we just wanted to take this step so that we don't have to go back to the city council and ask for money mid-year. So, that's all on the budget status. An update on our veterans markers. Happy to report that the Guardian Riders has stepped up along with the American Legion. You may have heard it on the radio and seen it in the paper already, but they've agreed to take on the fundraising efforts for this program. So what's going to happen is, talking to the representatives of the Guardian Riders, is they're going to purchase the granite. I provided them with all the contact information of the company that we use for granite. They're going to make the purchase. They're even trying to work on arranging for a truck to drive down to Georgia to pick this granite up, because the cost to ship it is actually more than the cost of the granite itself. It's like $4,000, I think, to ship that up here. So they'll be able to save a lot of money if they can send a truck down there to pick it up, and then they'll donate the granite to the cemetery, and then we'll install it. I informed both groups that we would have to install all of the granite and the concrete for no charge. We'll waive our installation costs, so that that's one less thing they have to worry about raising money for. So the only thing they're going to have to worry about is raising money for the granite, the few bags of concrete that it will take to pour the foundations over at Greenwood, and then they're going to come borrow our foundation forms so they can actually pour the foundations for the markers over at Greenwood. Because if you're not aware, the flat markers here at Swan Lake have to be installed on granite. It has to be a certain color, a certain size. Over at Greenwood, we don't require granite because it was never part of the policy going back decades. So all that's required over there is that they install it on a concrete foundation, which is a lot cheaper. It costs $15, $20 to pour a piece of foundation over there for them. So anyway, it's positive news, because hopefully we'll get them all installed and we won't have to worry about those sitting there anymore. They also informed me that if they raise more than the required amount, they're going to buy extra pieces of granite, so that if we run into the situation again, we don't want these markers sitting back there for years at a time. There'll be extra pieces of granite here already, so that for the veterans who can't afford to mount their markers, we can do that for them, compliments of the Guardian Riders and the American Legion.
Did you have to contact the owners of the?
So both Roxanne and Denise have tried. I think
We've tried.
we only made contact with a few. Some of these are like decades old, so the family members aren't around anymore. We don't have contact information. I did provide the Guardian Riders with the list of names on all those markers, so they're gonna go through those and see if they have any contact information for any of them. Because if we can make contact with the family members and it turns out that the deceased family member already has a headstone, it'd be cheaper just to mount the marker to the back of the headstone. We didn't want to do that because without having specific written consent from the family members, we don't want to go drilling holes into those headstones. So if we end up putting these out there and for whatever reason the family member doesn't want the marker out there, we just simply dig them up, you know. So. Not the person, the marker.
Right.
I saw that look on Renee's face. What?
And then I just had a couple photos. Well, actually, I had this ready for the last meeting, but I somehow skipped this slide. So we've pretty much completed or are in the process of completing our list of repairs, all the major items that I asked for funds for in the beginning of the year. I'm in the process of making a new list because we still have the ARPA money left, some of the ARPA money, and we still have some of the $150,000 that this board has set aside. So I want to make sure we get all that spent on the proper repairs. So some of the things that are still in need of repair, we still have a couple things at Greenwood that need to be painted. The break room for the employees, a couple restrooms. The exterior at this office, if you have a chance to walk around and look, it's in bad shape. I'm hoping that we can simply paint it without having to replace the siding. But again, we want to wait to do that until we replace the windows because the windows out here are in desperate need of repair. The window frames are all rotting. So I've gotten 2 estimates already. I'm waiting for a third to come in, and then at the next board meeting, I should be able to present that request to you. Door replacement at both of our offices, specifically at Greenwood, we have 2 doors that are completely rusted out on the bottom. They have holes, rodents are getting in there. We have duct tape across the bottoms. It looks terrible. The good thing about this is I spoke with the head of the local carpenters union a couple days ago. He came out. I showed him what needs to be repaired. He is going to go back to his union and see if he can get any volunteers, union laborers to come out and actually donate their time to make some of the repairs for us. Specifically, the big one would be the swan enclosure or swan shelter. We kind of provided him with kind of a design of how we'd like that built. So we're hoping to get that completed before the end of the year, before we actually need it. So. But again, if we can get by with just having to purchase the materials and have the union actually donate their services to repair and build these items, it'll allow us to fix other things instead of spending more money on labor. So I'm appreciative to the mayor for putting us in touch with the head of that union.
Nice.
So you have enough money in your budget yet?
We do if we have to. We definitely have it for the materials. I haven't gotten any estimates because I was hoping to go this route as far as getting the union to donate their labor. So.
We could probably give them a plaque to sit out by the pond and give them credit for their efforts.
Yeah.
Advertisements.
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, if they do come through, we definitely want to do something for them. So, yep. Next item would be our pond fountain. And I would like to ask the board permission now to actually purchase a fountain. I've gotten 3 estimates. They all hover around $3,000. So I think if the board approves $3,000, we should be good. But that fountain, the one I'm looking at, has a 3-year guarantee that covers. It's bumper to bumper, covers everything. The lights, because it actually has LED lights that can change color and things that we can change on there. The owner of the company assured me that we can run it 12 months of the year if we want. There's no guarantee that it won't freeze up in the winter, but he said that if it does freeze, it's not going to damage it. The water will just stop coming out. But my plan is right now we have that air-operated aerator that floats bubbles and keeps the water bubbling. I'll keep that in there during the winter time to keep it thawed out around. We'll mount that underneath the fountain itself and keep that thawed out. And hopefully we won't have to take the swans out of the pond this winter. But if we do, hopefully we'll have this shelter ready to go for them. So Actually, I'll go through my list first, and then if you want to take the vote after I'm done here for the fountain.
Let's do the fountain now.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great.
Is there a warranty?
Yeah, a 3-year warranty.
Yes, 1 year?
3.
3 years,
Yes.
okay.
We need a motion to approve the purchase of a fountain for our pond and swans. And do we have a motion for that?
Also move.
I just have a quick question. Once they do that, will that eliminate the treatment that we would have to?
I'm hoping.
Okay.
The only issue would be if it does come back, yeah, obviously we'll have to call the company back out here, but yeah, we are gonna have the second treatment done this year
Okay.
yet, but then in the spring, we'll try just running the fountain. If it doesn't work up, if it starts coming up
Then you
again,
know
then
to do the treatment again. Okay.
As I understand it, stagnant water
Yeah.
causes the problem.
Yeah,
To
that's
keep
right.
the water moving, we can reduce the problem.
well, that's true because on very windy days, the pond is completely clear because the wind blows all of that stuff to the edge. So,
Excellent. Well, we have a motion and a second, and now we're gonna vote. All in favor of purchasing this item for the poor little critters?
Aye.
I,
Excellent. Any opposed? Well, this motion will carry and we will purchase this. Thank you.
So the other repair items I was looking at, the Greenwood mausoleum doors are in need of repair. I had one contractor come out already. I'm going to get 2 more estimates, but originally I thought we might have to replace the doors themselves, but I was told that they can probably be repaired. The main problem is installing new weather stripping around them to kind of get rid of the gaps that are allowing the snow and wind or leaves to blow in there. And then the other item would be on those doors themselves, there's I think they're about 2 by 2 and maybe 2 by 4 panes of glass on each side of them. We have 2 windows that are fogged up because the seals have failed. So I do have estimates for those 2. It's not a lot of money, but it's something I'd like to get repaired because you can't clean the window. You can clean it all you want, but it still looks hazed over. So. And then the other item that right now that I have, I'm still working on this list, would be sidewalk repairs at both at the Greenwood Mausoleum and then also at our mausoleums out here at Swan Lake 2. It's my understanding at one point we had carpet laid all over the concrete outside the doors, and apparently over time, because of the thawing process, water must have got trapped underneath that carpet, and then it pitted out, and so the concrete pads outside the doors are all pitted up, and it looks bad, and it's a trip hazard. So my plan is hopefully not to have to replace the entire pad. There's some contractors that actually specialize in coating, concrete coating, so you could have the surface skimmed over with a new coat, and then they can add like a anti-slip surface to it, an additive, and then it actually can be colored too, so we can make it look better. So that's the list I've come up with so far. And again, this is stuff for this year yet. I'm kind of hoping to do. We're probably going to have more money left over at the beginning of the year to do some other things, because obviously there's a whole. Every day I come out here, there's another list. We had an issue out at the older mausoleum out here a couple days ago. I went out there, and I just happened to notice the ceiling on the foyer on the outside of the building is when you enter the building. It's starting to sag. I don't know if that's some kind of concrete or plaster, but it's starting to sag. I'm afraid that may eventually start falling down. So, and it looks bad too. So, and then the rear door on the furnace door needs to be replaced too because it's all rusted out. So it's just a plethora of repairs that pop up daily. So.
Is that door you just mentioned the one that when I took the tour of
Yes.
the utility?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of important, isn't it? You said.
It is.
I mean,
We may, if we can't, it's a difficult door to replace because it's concreted in. Because we have, when I brought the union labor out here a couple days ago and looked at the office at Greenwood, 2 of those doors are actually concreted in. So they explained to me those are very hard doors to replace because in the frames are actually have concrete in them too. So it's a hard repair. So. But again, that's just some of the things that we have planned in the future. So. And again, and obviously the fence at Greenwood is going to be one of our main concerns starting the first of the year, because I'm assuming that's gonna cost a substantial amount of money. I looked at our old records, and I think the board paid over $100,000 for that fence when it was installed, so it's a lot of money.
Thank you for all your work.
Appreciate
You're
it.
doing a great job.
So just have a couple photos here. At the last meeting, it was brought to my attention that we had some complaints about the interior doors at Greenwood Cemetery at the mausoleum. And this is just a before and after picture. The problem was we have two interior doors. One leads to our utility room and the other leads to our furnace room. Just because of years of maintenance out there, the bottoms of the doors have become kind of pitted, or the stain has worn off. So rather than replacing the doors, I restained the exterior of both doors, and then we added the brass kick plates just to prevent that damage in the future, so they look a lot better. So, again, just a picture of the work that was done at the Serenity Mausoleum. And then I'm happy to report we're finally done with the landscaping project at the Greenwood Mausoleum. All of the landscaping stone has been installed, the new shrubs, and then all of the timbers have been repainted. So it looks a lot nicer.
That's really good.
Yeah, I received some compliments about it from some people, yeah.
And another thing we did over there, we had received some complaints on the far right picture at the very back of the building, kind of towards the AC unit. Just past that, there was no curb and nothing there. It was lawn, but it had turned into a big mud hole because the rainwater runs off of the steel roof, and there are no gutters on this building, so it just runs straight down. And instead of falling on top of the landscaping, it was falling right down on the lawn and turning into a mud hole, and that was one of the complaints. So we extended it, so now we have the river rock running all the way to the back of the building to eliminate that. So, that's the end of my presentation.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you.
It was extensive.
Yes.
Yes.
It's going to continue to be extensive.
Oh, one more thing I didn't have on there. We've talked about during the budget discussions that we wanted to raise all of our burial rates because they haven't been raised for a number of years. And we've fallen behind other surrounding cemeteries. So before the next meeting, we're going to review all of the charges that we have for burials, monument installations, anything that we do. And we're going to raise those accordingly. But at the next meeting, we will be asking the board to approve a new price list.
Rate sheet. That includes the Saturday burial
Correct.
surcharge?
Yes.
Okay, because our guys don't work for free.
No, and also at the next meeting, we will hopefully have the rules written for Saturday burials, so we'll be able to at least present those and probably ask that you pass them at the December meeting to give the funeral homes enough time to look them over and remonstrate against those if they want to. So.
Excellent. Alrighty. Now, we really don't need to do so, but we will ask for a motion to accept the superintendent's report as presented.
I, Kat Hopkins, make a motion, we accept the superintendent's report.
Renee Bauer, I second that motion.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. This motion carries and the superintendent report is accepted as presented. We'll move on to old business. Any old business? Nothing new? Okay, we'll go into new business, and you do have a note here for the workmen and cemetery installing markers and monuments.
Yes, those are the rules.
We just voted.
Excellent. All right. Besides that, we have a total of nothing new except the next meeting on November 14th here at Swan Lake, and we'll need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.